Devil May Cry 3 is one of the most entertaining speedruns out there, and that's mostly down to one fundamental element of the speedrun. Its highly precise and very punishing central playstyle. There are many ways to play Devil May Cry 3. The game itself rewards experimentation and many viable playstyles. But in the pursuit of speed, all that fat must be cut, and eventually a dominant playstyle emerges. Of the four main styles in the game, Trickster for better mobility and survivability, Gunslinger for more ranged attacks, Swordmaster for more melee attacks, and Royal Guard for blocks and parries, one has cemented itself as the face of Devil May Cry 3 speedrunning, and that is Royal Guard. Royal Guard allows the player to block and parry attacks with precise timing. Perfectly timed blocks store energy, and if you release within 3 frames of getting attacked, you can perform a perfect parry, doing massive damage. This allows for boss phase skips and a high level of optimization possibilities across the game. Hell, it even lets you skip the Centipede boss fight. This led me to one natural question. What if I woke up in an alternate reality? One where Itsuna wasn't the god that he is, and he forgot to add the secret sauce to DMC3. A Devil May Cry 3 speedrun without Royal Guard. What would that even look like? That's exactly what I set out to see. Of the 3 other styles, I wanted to explore Swordmaster the most. So let's see what exactly a Swordmaster only speedrun of Devil May Cry 3 would look like. First, a few ground rules. This is a completely made up category and there is no leaderboard for it. That means I can do whatever I want. I'll keep the rules consistent between runs, but for the sake of it actually being a different run with the other styles, I'm going to have to set up a very specific save file. This save file has all of the devil arms and guns already unlocked, as well as every style, and has all of the styles leveled up to their maximum. This save file, however, has default health and devil trigger and no extra red orbs. The reason I set it up like this is so that I can use the save file to do challenge runs like this from essentially a new game setting. So if I wanted to do, let's say, a Nevin only run in the future, I can. But for the purposes of these alternative style runs, I will not be using anything I wouldn't already have unlocked in a normal playthrough. So I can't use Cerberus until I beat Cerberus, and I can't use Spiral unless I pick it up. The reason for all of the styles being leveled up is that normally the styles all start at level 1 and go up to level 3. But in order to get the styles to level up, you have to kill enemies. Normally, if you kill every enemy, you'll get the style that you've been using for the whole game up to level 3 right at the start of mission 18. Basically right at the end of the game. In order to properly experiment and be able to use all the style has to offer for the whole run, I want to start with level 3. Okay, speech is over, let's get into it. What makes Swordmaster so cool anyways? Swordmaster greatly expands the moveset of every melee weapon in the game by giving it an additional neutral, aerial, forward, and backwards attack. Most of the moves are great for adding variety to your play and greatly help with increasing your style rank. They are not particularly good for damage though. To be honest, I wasn't most familiar with Swordmaster when I started doing these runs, but I did have a few ideas. As we start the first run, it's time to experiment. What moves would be useful for each weapon? And how would I clear each room the fastest? Normally in the speedrun, you would line up enemies and use a perfect release to instantly kill them. If you didn't do that, then what you would do is use the first 2 attacks in a combo, then block to cancel the combo, starting it over. That way you can continue to do damage without knocking the enemy far away. We don't really have many ways to do that with Swordmaster. That's why the best strategy is to try and million stab all the enemies at once, instantly killing them. The enemies don't die, then we can do something called a Rave Jump Cancel, or Rave JC for short. By launching the enemy in the air and then using the first slash of Swordmaster's air combo with Rebellion, we can keep the enemy in the air, then cancel the combo by jumping off the enemy and starting it again. By doing this really fast with precise timing, I could hold the enemy in the air, slowly falling while doing massive damage. JC's not as crispy as they were the first run. Just kidding, I'm a lying bitch. This seems like it's the best approach, at least for normal enemies that have more health. And definitely the first boss. Rave JC was good, but obviously it's not as good as Royal Guard. Another move that Swordmaster lets you do with Rebellion is Sword Pierce. Dante throws Rebellion at the enemy and it gets stuck in them, doing damage over time. You can get some of Beowulf's moveset during this time, like the dive kick. Unfortunately, this is really hard to jump cancel. I initially had the idea of doing Sword Pierce, then dive kick jump canceling my way to glory, but it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. It did end up being really useful though actually, but just for finishing off enemies that are almost dead. If the sword flies into an enemy that is almost dead, it will instantly kill them, then fly to the next one. If you do it right, you can get multi-kills with this. What was gonna happen though, is that I was gonna take this puppy to the pound. Cerberus normally gets wrecked by some releases, well, if you can manage to hit him with them. Because I have Air Rave though, I can hit his heads much easier. It also leaves me more open to his attacks though. After we take him to Pound Town, we unlock Cerberus, and this is where things get cool. It's cool! Cerberus is one of the coolest weapons in the game, obviously, but similar to Vanilla Ice, it's not very strong. Swordmaster helps with this a little bit, giving it a nice fast recovery cancel neutral with flicker, and some great area of effect attacks. I knew from the get-go that I wanted to use these area of effect attacks at the start of fights to take out multiple enemies or round them all up and then finish them off with it. It's not as optimal as Royal Guard, but it can actually be more flashy somehow. I didn't think that was possible, but here we are. Because I don't have Royal Guard, I can't do Gigazip to skip mission 4. That means we have to do the pit fight and the Gigapete boss fight. Way back in the day when we used to fight this guy, another runner, Heist, had a theory. The theory goes like this, that you can manipulate how Gigapete moves in the boss fight by having a certain rank when you leave the pit fight. I think he's insane, but it did seem to work on the first attempt at least. Fortunately, he came out slow, then did maximum purple balls. This is really rare, and lets you easily 2-cycle the boss. Mission 5 brings 2 boss fights, and unfortunately, Swordmaster doesn't really have a solution for these ones. Jester is just slower. The fastest method is just to switch cancel back and forth between Rebellion and Cerberus. This is the strat that we used to do before we figured out that shotgun canceling with Royal Guard is just slightly faster. Agni and Rudra was not so simple, however. With no really consistent way of parrying their attacks, I was getting my ass beat. I fucking hate using Revolver for that. I mean, I should try Flicker. Using Revolver for that just seems so inconsistent, like sometimes you just get hit anyways. I tried a lot of different methods. The classic is Revolver, Cerberus' big swinging move, but I settled on Flicker because it comes out faster. Crystal, the stay cool move, seemed to be a good way of dealing damage though. On to mission 6, we get Agni and Rudra, and this is basically everyone's favorite weapon, especially when you're using Swordmaster. I wouldn't get to see any use of it in this mission though. This mission is literally all movement and no combat. This mission actually showed me one of the more annoying parts of running without Royal Guard. Royal Guard is used in movement to cancel stingers faster, making your overall movement more crisp and quick. This is why I'm cutting the shit out of the air between each stinger. It's faster than just letting the move recover, but it's not quite as fast as Royal Guard. Once we finally get to a mission with combat, we could test out this bad boy and finally see what Agni and Rudra has to offer. It has an even longer aerial string than Rebellion, a long distance blade attack that is honestly terrible, and most importantly, Tempest. Tempest is what you might have seen those PS2 tool-assisted speedruns of this game use to absolutely annihilate everything. Unfortunately, this was patched out after the PS2 version. At least the insane damage was, not the move. The move as it is now is pretty good, but I was hoping it would be my ticket to a fast time. This patch put a big downer on my plans, but it made for a pretty funny meme. Tempest, the move that lets us down and breaks our hands. Now that Tempest spamming the whole game into oblivion like I was the DMC5 Virgil or something was out of the question, I had to come up with a different strategy for the greeds on mission 7. The good old jump cancel strategy would do the trick. I wanted to do sword pierce, then jump cancel with Agni and Rudra, and while it did work, I think it was actually slower because the amount of time I had to do to set it up would not actually make up for the amount of damage that I was losing by doing it slowly. I would try using Tempest here and there though. Similar to Crystal with Cerberus, it's good for when lots of enemies are grouped up and already weakened, or just spawning in as an opener. Virgil was fought basically the same as normal. Jump cancels and a few shotgun blasts for good measure. Lil Bro was never really a fan of the Blicky. Once I got to mission 8, I officially unlocked Devil Trigger, and I maxed it out right before the boss. Well, as much as I could. I got scammed by the Red Orb Crystal. Apparently, Tempest doesn't hit it at all. Who knew? The boss can't be done as fast as with Royal Guard because I can't parry the lasers, but I can hit his heart above the lasers by stalling in the air with aerial raid. The next few missions would play out basically normally. I can't quite get a 2-cycle on Nevin with jump cancels alone, and Tempest can't hit shit, especially not the spiders. Oh, what? Come on. That doesn't even take out her shields? Bro, did they nerf Tempest? There is one great use for it though. The carriage on mission 11 and 12 is perfect for crowd control with these enemies jumping onto the carriage. Similar to Nevin, it's possible but extremely difficult to get a fast kill, and it's based entirely on jump cancels. But I'm no god gamer, so I couldn't do it. Okay, well maybe I am, but like a lesser god? I'm like Poseidon or something. I'm strong when I am in my waters, but if you go on land, Best I could do is a mean glare. Tempest actually legitimately saves time in exactly one location. You can trigger a despawn of a wave of enemies by killing them all at once, and Tempest is perfect for that. Up to this point, the bosses are basically just the same as normal, but slower and less consistent. That is, until the horse. Fresh from his debut in Dark Souls 2, the Zawarudo horse is by far the most annoying fight in the whole game. Without rail guard, there is no real way to do massive damage and stun lock the horse. This means you have to repeatedly stop the horse by hand with your swords. This is much harder. Also, did I mention I hate this horse? I was really hoping that would at least stun the fucking horse. Virgil is basically the same as normal. You just can't skip his Devil Trigger phase without rail guard. To deal with this, I save up all of my Devil Trigger, charge it into one big explosion, and then when he activates it, hit him with Helmbreaker and Devil Trigger Explosion. This will do so much damage to him that it immediately knocks him out of Devil Trigger, skipping the phase. After a few pats on the head, he's dead, and I unlock this run's Magnum Opus. And just like the Magnum condoms, I have no idea how to use them. Lack of experience, they say. Beowulf is already the highest damage output in the game with its dive kicks, but Swordmaster adds a whole new set of moves that do insane damage. Firstly, Hammer, a better and much faster aerial attack, and Real Impact, a slow to set up but huge damage uppercut that demolishes most enemies in one hit. I haven't played with this very much, so I wasn't exactly sure where to use it, but I did know one thing. I was gonna hammer the shit out of some chess pieces. Now I'm a DMC4 player. Hammer JC's hard. I learned a new thing this run too. Apparently, Fallen are even worse than I thought. You can jump cancel them apparently. It's just really hard. Also, they fall out of Real Impact. Can I? Oh, what? Scammed? Hello, officer, I've been scammed. I stole my CSGO knife. Also, I learned that you can Real Impact the buttons on Mission 15 and have them instantly complete. Don't forget, streamer, remember, you can use Real Impact to use all the buttons in this level and save a bunch of time. Ah yes, serotonin. These last few levels with the chess pieces really show Swordmaster's strength. Real impacting the chess pieces as they spawn, instantly killing them, and then hammering away at what's left. Real Impact is good at more than just fighting though. The orb crystals actually give you more orbs the more damage you do to them, so you can get insane orb output from them if you just spam Real Impact. This gave me so many extra orbs actually that I could use an extra holy water on Arkham. Mission 18 would be the biggest change in the whole run. After using a holy water on the chess fight to activate it early, I decimate the king with Real Impact. I wanted to do an alternate route for the bosses on Mission 18. To move on, you need to create a circle on the board. The smallest possible circle is 3 bosses: Cerberus, Agni Rudra, and Beowulf. The next smallest circle is 5 bosses. Nevin and the horse both have really fast fights with Beowulf, but they didn't complete a circuit fast enough to be worth doing. This is super unfortunate because honestly, Agni Rudra is so ass to fight without rail guard, especially without Cerberus. I had Beowulf and Agni Rudra. Agni Rudra for damage on Cerberus and Beowulf jump cancels, and Beowulf for Real Impact damage. The problem once again was parries. I died a few times on my first run trying to figure out something consistent, but I could find nothing. God damn it. I need a strat for this. That's actually good. So bad. I tried, they just hit you out of the air. What I did find is that Real Impact did insane damage to the boss, and I could almost instant kill them if I got one of their swords away. Once I finally beat them, Mission 19 was really straightforward. Some Real Impacting, some mirrors, and some abyss. Arkham was just punched until I could throw some holy waters on his ass, and that just left us with Virgil, the final boss. Basically, the fight is the same as Virgil 2, except I can't skip his DT phase as easily here. The fight is longer, and thus he has more opportunities to activate his Devil Trigger. But in the end, he was no match for my foot. Right up the butthole. I got a 1:34:47 for my first run. About what I expected, to be honest, but I knew it could be a lot faster. If I just got rid of some of those deaths, I could definitely bring it below a 130 at least. This is when I went back to Mission 18, Agni Rudra. It was obviously the biggest point of improvement in the whole run. I messed with a few strategies. I even considered letting them combine to get a more consistent fight. But eventually, I figured out that Agni and Rudra's aerial attack with Swordmaster has a ton of parry frames on it, and it floats you in the air like forever. As long as you don't jump too high before starting it, you should be very safe for the parries. On top of that, I found an opener that lets you tank the first hit and get a Real Impact off right at the start. I was prepped and ready for more runs. This time, I was way more prepared. The first one was mostly experimentation and testing to see what could be good. This time, I had a strategy for every boss and enemy. It might not be perfect, but practicing even a suboptimal route will result in better times than endlessly theorizing what a perfect one would look like. This run is much better than the previous one. Having a plan let me build some muscle memory and get to the bottom of these rooms very quickly. It was all going smoothly until the horse incident. We do not talk about the horse incident. We call that skill. No luck involved there. Oh my god, I threw, dude! I used both a Devil Star and a Vital Star and still died when the horse had 1 health left. What makes this fight even more difficult is you don't have time to counter the horse while he runs at you. Normally, you use Royal Guard to recover faster, giving you just enough time to set up and counter, stopping him from running around. But without Royal Guard, you have to be much more precise about your swing timing so that you can have enough time to get ready and stop him. And if you don't, well, then this happens. No! I should have grabbed the fucking Devil Star. That's so fucking cringe, dude. Again with the 1 HP horse. Of all the rooms that actually got faster, I think chest room on 14 was the only one. This room gets legit so good if you real impact and hammer JC correctly. This run had a very bad Beowulf and I missed the opener on Agni Rudra, but at least I didn't die. I also remembered to re-equip Rebellion so I could more easily set up the Abyss for real impacts. I finished with a 120-114, a huge improvement, just over 12 minutes. I wasn't quite satisfied yet though, as there were still some optimizations I wanted to make. Namely, not dying to the horse. So I went once again on the salty run back. The next run would be even better, and I wouldn't die to the horse. The Agni Rudra fight was really bad, but I didn't die, and the Beowulf fight was much better than last time. I finished the run with a 118-21. Devil May Cry 3 is an awesome speedrun. What makes it awesome is not only Royal Guard apparently though. The game's base combat and structure makes for an amazingly fun, speedy experience. And if I was in an alternate reality where Royal Guard didn't exist, I think I would still speedrun the game. What is the difference? Well, mostly, bosses were more random and slower, especially Agni Rudra and Beowulf. The normal combat rooms are also much more difficult to optimize, but I think that with some dedicated runners pushing it forward, you could come up with some really fun and unique strategies that can make the run even more enjoyable. But that would be a job for somebody else. I only did 3 runs and I got a 118-21. I won't do any more for now, but maybe next time we'll check out what Trickster has to offer. Oh, and I'll give a shout out to anyone who can beat my time with Swordmaster. You can watch the full run and the end cards here. Thanks for watching and stay stylish.